need to pull up script anyway.
And good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so we can put it onto our website, podcast, and our YouTube channel. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so that you can follow along. Tonight's recap will start on page 26, where it says a certain American businessman, and will end on page 28, made him a free man. Our study tonight will start on page 28, we in our turn sought, and will end on page 29, I must have this thing. And do we have any announcements?
Yes, let me prepare by taking a swallow of water first. Hi, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic, and I spent the time. We are part of Area 64 Service Assembly in Tennessee, and I spent the time at Assembly this weekend, had an absolutely magnificent assembly, and it was a voting assembly. It was good. It was powerful. We even had one vote go to the hat, and that means after 5 rounds of voting, if no one is picked, they drop 2 names in the hat, and the one that comes out gets to be the next trusted servant. So we have Heather L. as our delegate going into 26 and 27. Shar B. is our alternate delegate. Karen S. as our area chair. Rodney B. is our area secretary. Our obviously I forgot to put down who our alternate secretary is, but Tyler B. will be our treasurer, and Paul W. will be our alternate treasurer, and these are all wonderful folks that have a passion for being of service and representing our group and many others. We had 35 districts represented, and we had 155 groups represented at the service assembly, as well as having 159 voting members and 188 registered for attendance. So it was really quite a wonderful weekend. And thank you for letting me be of service to this group and to our district. On a bit of a sadder note, one of our members of this meeting has passed away, and he was part of our sponsorship family, and we generally have about 5 generations of sponsorship in this meeting when he was here. So our dear friend Art has passed away. So what I would like to do, Art would not like us to make this meeting about him. This meeting is about our big book study. But what I would like to do is suggest that we all take a moment of silence for he and his family. And I think that would be appropriate. And when I have everything together, we will be doing a celebration of life for him right here in this room, but that'll take us a few weeks. So, for all of those who wish, let's take a moment of silence for Art and his family, please. Thank you. And now on to what we do. And it's something that Art would want us to do. Good evening, family. My name is Jamie. I am a very grateful recovered alcoholic, and welcome to the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of meditation, followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Thanks. Please be aware of background noises when you're unmuted, and sharing is not to distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. And just a friendly reminder that absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share, and we will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
And from the forward to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study.
And let's invite the monks in to do what the monks do so well, and enjoy your time with God, folks. And for those of you who wish to join us in our family's fog light prayer, it's on your screen in front of you. Fog light prayer. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report. Come on in, Jim.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Jim F., and I'm your recovery secretary. And I have asked Terry to read the recovery statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Terry.
You're muted, Terry. Here, let me see if I can make life easy on you. Try that.
I'm so sorry. Could you screen share the,
It is.
oh, I'm not seeing that either.
Hang on. I'll do it again. You must be on the wrong page.
Possibly, yeah, maybe I'm on the wrong, how did I get, okay, I'm sorry, everybody.
Hang on.
No, I still don't see it.
I know. Give me a second to get it up there. Okay.
Hi, everybody, I'm Terry, recovered alcoholic pickle chips. Recovered, we are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured, that presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. Page 23 of the Big Book. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you, Terry. And thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a big book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX. Of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
Welcome,
Joseph.
Joseph.
Welcome.
And I know we got some others. We actually have 2 pages of people tonight. Welcome to everyone.
Oh, Tim. Welcome, Tim.
Yeah, welcome, Tim.
All righty. And if we didn't call you, welcome. And then the recovered alcoholics. These are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week? Okay. If you should require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in chat. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in the chat. And thank you, and I'll see you next week. Keep coming back.
Thank you so much for your service tonight, Jim and Terry. Grateful as always. From Chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 6. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 7. Please refer to page 562 in our book, Alcoholics Anonymous, and come on in, Shayna.
Hi, hi, I'm Shayna. I'm your recovered alcoholic traditionalist this week. I apologize if there are little people in the background, just a little person. This week we're doing Tradition 7, and AA's Tradition 7th tradition says, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Now, that might sound like a line out of a rule book, but what it really means is freedom. It means we don't rely on anyone outside of AA to keep our doors open. No government grants, no wealthy donors, no strings attached. Just us, people who've been given a second chance, supporting the fellowship that made that possible. When we pay our own way, we stay independent. We stay focused on what really matters, helping the next alcoholic who walks through that door. Because the truth is, money can come with influence. And the moment we let outside money in, we risk letting outside opinions run the show. Putting a few dollars in a basket or virtual basket isn't about paying for your seat. It's about taking ownership. It's about saying, this is my meeting, and I want to help keep it going. And here's the thing. It's not about how much you give. No one keeps track, and no one should ever feel pressured. What matters is the spirit behind it. Maybe it's $1, maybe it's some change, maybe it's just the willingness to give back what was so freely given to us. When we each do our small part, we're not just keeping the lights on or the rooms open. We're keeping AA's spirit alive. We're saying thank you in the most practical way possible. For me, Tradition 7 also reminds me to be self-supporting in my own life. Stop relying on others to fix everything for me. To start standing on my own 2 feet. That's a big part of my recovery. So the next time the basket comes around, or the virtual basket, think of it as more than just money. It's gratitude in action. It's how we protect the miracle that saved so many of our lives. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Shayna. So grateful for your service, and I'd like to ask you specifically a question. Would you mind if I expanded on that just a little bit over something that happened at Assembly this weekend?
Go for it, please do.
I'm going to take just a second, folks. So I was at an Area 64 Assembly this weekend, and we were approving our proposed budget, and contributions have been down a lot. So we support our group. We buy the coffee, we pay the rent, we do all these things, but we send money to 3 other entities in Alcoholics Anonymous, GSO, our intergroups, our districts, and our areas. And in trying to approve this budget, contributions are down. So we had a shortfall from something that we wanted to do with a alternate delegate to be able to send them to a service assembly. We don't earmark money for specific things in groups, and especially at the area level. We just don't do that. All the contributions go into a general fund, and we figure out our budget. And we were about $800 short, and a member took $800 out and handed it to the treasurer. We returned that money to the treasurer as an area. While the intention may have been right we can't take that money without working it into the budget and giving it a line item and a place to go. And of course, the person was hoping that we would be able to send that alternate delegate on that money, but we can't. It's part of our service structure. We can't earmark funds. So the right thing for us to do was to return that money to the individual and say thank you very much. And that's a little bit how the seventh tradition works outside of our group. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you for allowing me to expand on that, Shana. And now it's time for our weekly installment of Thatting in the Book. We hear a lot of stuff said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as described in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of those things we often hear, and I have to say it just the way a lady used to say it when I got sober. I choose not to drink today. And Timmy's going to come in and tell us what it has to say about that on page 24 in the second paragraph. Welcome, Timmy.
Yeah, I'm Timmy, grateful recovered alcoholic. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink.
Thank you, Tim.
Very welcome.
As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight we are going to start our recap on page 26, which will be read tonight by Donald, followed by our study portion, which will be read tonight by Susan.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back where our study portion with Susan began tonight. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through, then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we have completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, observations based on what was just read. Please, if you have spiritual experience with this information, please share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you will hear a timer with maybe some cool jazzy sound or something like that to let you know that your time is up.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example, with your sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of our co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
And so how did we get here? Because we didn't just randomly open the book to page 26, 27, and 28 and say, this is what we're reading tonight. This is a 96-week study, and we start on the title page where we find our first promise, how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. and we read through the preface, the forewords, and the doctor's opinion. And then we pick up Bill's story on page 1, and we read all the way through page 194 in this question and answer format. After we've read all of those pages, we then read Dr. Bob's Nightmare in the same format. We spend 4 weeks on the traditions, and we visit Appendix 2, or the spiritual experience, 3 times in our study when the asterisk at the bottom of the page refers us there. Then we close out this study, our 96th week, doing a standalone week in Appendix 2, just because that spirituality is such an important part of our sobriety and of our recovery. And then after we do week 96, we circle back around to week 1 and we start all over again. We are in our 5th year of being a group, and we are on week 21 in our 4th season of going through the book. So it takes us about a year and a half. But every time we go through it, I'm learning new stuff and finding new stuff, or seeing things with a different perspective.
Thank you, Trish. And before we begin the recap, we will need 4 or 5, 6 study readers for those of you who would like to read back from where Susan is going to start. And I see the hands coming up, so we could use 2 or 3 more. And Donald, welcome. Come on in, brother.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Donald, and aka Gandalf, and I am a grateful, recovered, but not cured alcoholic. And starting on page 26, a certain American businessman had ability, good sense, and high character. For years, he had floundered from one sanitarium to another. He had consulted the best-known American psychiatrist. Then he had gone to Europe. Placing himself in the care of a celebrated physician, the psychiatrist Dr. Young, who prescribed for him. Though experience had made him skeptical, he finished his treatment with unusual confidence. His physical and mental condition were unusually good. Above all, he believed he had acquired such a profound knowledge of the inner working of his mind and its hidden spring that relapse was unthinkable. Nevertheless, he was drunk in a short time. More baffling still, he could give himself no satisfactory explanation for his fall. Jamie, you got something shared. So he returned to his doctor, whom he admired, and asked his point blank why he could not recover. He wished above all things to regain self-control. He seemed quite rational and well-balanced with respect to other problems. Yet he had no control whatever over alcohol. Why was this? He begged the doctor to tell him the whole truth, and he got it. In the doctor's judgment, he was utterly hopeless. He could never regain his position in society, and he would have to place himself under lock and key or hire a bodyguard if he expected to live long. That was a great physician's opinion. But this man still lives and is a free man. He does not need a bodyguard, nor is he confined. He can't go anywhere on this earth where other free men may go without disaster, provided he remains willing to maintain a certain simple attitude. Some of our alcoholic readers may think they can do without spiritual help. Let us tell you the rest of the conversation our friend had with this doctor. The doctor said, "You have the mind of a chronic alcoholic. I have never seen one single case recover. where that state of mind existed in the extent that it does in you. Our friend felt as though the gates of hell had closed on him with a clang. He said to the doctor, "Is there no exception?" "Yes," replied the doctor, "there is. Exceptions to such cases such as yours have been occurring since early times. Here and there, once in a while, alcoholics have had what we call vital spiritual experiences. To me, these experiences are phenomena. They appear to be in the nature of huge emotional displacements and rearrangements. Ideas, emotions, and attitudes which were once the guiding forces of the lives of these men are suddenly cast to one side, and completely new set of conceptions and motives begin to dominate them. In fact, I have been trying to produce some such emotional rearrangement with you. With many individuals, the method which I employed are successful, but I have never been successful with an alcoholic of your description." Upon hearing this, our friend was somewhat relieved, for he reflected that, after all, he was a good church member. This hope, however, was destroyed by the doctor's telling him that while his religious convictions are very good, in his case they did not spell the necessary vital spiritual experience. Here was the terrible dilemma in which our friend found himself when he had extraordinary experience, which, as we have already told you, made him a free man. Thank you for letting me be of service.
Thank you so much, Donald. Thank you for your service tonight. And Susan, welcome.
My name is Susan. I'm an alcoholic. We, in our turn, sought the same escape with all the desperation of drowning men. What seemed at first a flimsy reed has proved to be the loving and powerful hand of God. A new life has been given us, or if you prefer, a design for living that really works. The distinguished American psychologist William James, in his book Varieties of Religious Experience, indicates a multitude of ways in which men have discovered God. We have no desire to convince anyone that there is only one way by which faith can be acquired. If what we have learned and felt and seen means anything at all, it means that all of us, whatever our race, creed, or color, are the children of a living Creator with whom we may form a relationship upon simple and understandable terms as soon as we are willing and honest enough to try. Those having religious affiliations will find here nothing disturbing to their beliefs or ceremonies. There is no friction among us over such matters. We think it no concern of ours what religious bodies our members identify themselves with as individuals. This should be an entirely personal affair which each one decides for himself in the light of past associations or his present choice. Not all of us join religious bodies, but most of us favor such memberships. In the following chapter, there appears an explanation of alcoholism as we understand it, then a chapter addressed to the agnostic. Many who once were in this class are now among our members. Surprisingly enough, we find such convictions no great obstacle to a spiritual experience. Further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we recovered. These are followed by 42 personal experiences. Each individual in the personal stories describes in his own language and from his own point of view the way he established his relationship with God. These give a fair cross-section of our membership and a clear-cut idea of what has actually happened in their lives. We hope no one will consider these self-revealing accounts in bad taste. Our hope is that many alcoholic men and women, desperately in need, will see these pages, and we believe that it's only by fully disclosing ourselves and our problems that they will be persuaded to say, "Yes, I am one of them too. I must have this thing." Thank you for letting me do service.
Thank you for your service tonight, Susan. Glad to have you with us. And we are going to go right back to where Susan started reading for us tonight. Trish will be coming in with a few comments. The batting order tonight will be Shayla, Sheila, Jacqueline, William, Larry, and Kenny. Let me add you to that list. And you can all unmute, please. And away we go. So Shayla, gonna kick it off with you, hon. What do we do that Roland did?
A certain American. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Is it me? A certain American businessman had ability.
No, Shay. Starts with we in our turn, where Susan started reading.
Okay, I thought we went back.
After the recap.
Oh, okay, I see it. We in our turn sought this same escape with all the desperation of drowning men.
Thank you. And Sheila, now it is your turn. What has the flimsy beginning proved to be?
What seemed at first a flimsy reed has proved to be the loving and powerful hand of God.
Thank you. And Miss Jacqueline, a two-part question for you. A, what does the program of Alcoholics Anonymous give the suffering alcoholic? And B, what is another way we view what we are given?
Okay, a new life has been given us, or if you prefer, a design for living that really works.
Very good, thank you. And William, good evening, brother. Your question, what contribution did William James make to AA?
Good evening to all my family too. The distinguished American psychology, William James, in this book, a variety of religious experience indicates that a multitude of ways in which men have discovered God.
Thank you. And Larry, what do we not want to do?
We have no desire to convince anyone that there is only one way by which faith can be acquired.
Okay, thank you. And Kenny, you have a two-part question, my friend. A, what does the experience of the first 100 mean? And B, when will this happen?
It's what we have learned from, what we have learned and felt and seen means anything at all. It means that all of us, whatever our race, creed, or color, are children of a living creator with whom we may form a relationship upon simple and understandable terms as soon as we are willing to be honest enough to try.
Thank you. And Shayla, coming right back to you. Will the program, as described in the Big Book, disturb any religious views?
Those having religious affiliations will find here nothing disturbing to their beliefs or ceremonies.
Thank you. And Sheila, do we argue religious views?
There is no friction among us over such matters.
Thank you. Miss Jacqueline, do we care what religious group or groups a member belongs to?
We think it's no concern of ours what religious bodies our members identify themselves with as individuals.
Thank you. And Sir William, how do we view that topic?
It should be as an entirely personal affair which each one decides for himself in the light of the past association or his present choice.
Thank you. And Larry, two-part question. Do all of us join up with a religious group? And B, do we favor such affiliation?
Not all of us join religious bodies, but most of us favor such memberships.
Thank you very much. And Kenny, coming to you. Two-part question, I'm sorry. A, what will we learn in the next chapter? And B, what is the chapter following that one about?
In the following chapter, there appears an explanation of alcoholism as we understand it. Then a chapter addressed to the agnostic.
Thank you very much. And Shayla, coming back to you. Do we get a lot of agnostics in AA?
Many who once were in this class are now among our members. Surprisingly enough,
Nope, that's it right there.
Oh, sorry.
Just the one line, that's okay. You did just fine. And Miss Sheila, is being an agnostic a great handicap to recovery?
Surprisingly enough, we find such convictions no great obstacle to a spiritual experience.
Very good, thank you. And Miss Jacqueline, two questions for you. A, further on, what are we given? And B, showing us what?
Further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we recovered.
Thank you.
These are...
Nope, that's it, right there.
The Big Book is our only literature which gives the precise directions for taking the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, leading us to recovery from alcoholism.
Thank you. Trish and William, coming to you. What follows the clear-cut directions in our basic text?
These are followed by 42 personal experience.
And thank you. Larry, what do these 42 personal stories show us?
Each individual in the personal stories describes his own language and form, his own opinion, his own point of view, the way he established his relationship with God.
Thank you. And Kenny, what do the stories accomplish?
These give a fair cross-section of our membership and a clear-cut idea of what has actually happened in their lives.
Thank you. And Shay, coming back to you, what do we hope those who read the stories will not do?
We hope no one will consider these self-revealing accounts in bad taste.
Thank you. And Sheila, you get the final question of the night. What do we hope the stories will do for the suffering alcoholic?
Our hope is that many alcoholics, men and women desperately in need, will see these pages, and we believe that it is only by fully disclosing ourselves and our problems that they will be persuaded to say, yes, I am one of them too. I must have this thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
On page 17, we are told two vital things. First, that they have given us a fellowship, a place to gather and share our experience with each other. Second, they have given us a spiritual solution that will help us become recovered from the hopeless state of mind and body and overcome our alcoholism. In this chapter, it doesn't say anything about 90 meetings in 90 days or meeting makers make it. Instead, the primary focus is that there is a spiritual solution offered, regardless of any other affiliations we have, religious or non-religious. Hope is found here.
Thank you so much, Trish, and thank you everyone for reading tonight. And you can go ahead and remute yourselves, please. And the meeting is now open for sharing on questions, observations, experience, spiritual experience with this chapter. We'd love to hear from you all. I will remind everyone that in this chapter there is a solution, and in chapter 3, along with Bill's story and the doctor's opinion, 51 pages in all, are all about one thing, step 1. and they give us all the information that we need to make the diagnosis of the only self-diagnosed disease in the world, alcoholism. So, we'd love to hear from you. It's going to be the dental chair tonight. I love it when it's the dental chair. I got big pliers. And I don't use Novocaine. Come on in, Trish. Welcome.
I will get us going. I'm Trish and I'm an alcoholic. And what really jumped out at me tonight is towards the beginning of the reading, talking about a loving creator with whom we form a relationship upon simple and understandable terms as soon as we are willing and honest enough to try. And that willing and honest enough to try was really the kicker for me. Because further on it talks about the personal stories, how each person described in their own language and from their own point of view how they established their relationship with God. And those stories gave me hope. Those stories were the first things that I could read and it actually made sense to me out of the book. But I just couldn't grasp how was I going to get that relationship with God. And it was because I wasn't willing to do the work. It took me a while to get willing to do the work, but once I got willing, I started recognizing my higher power. I started recognizing my God all around me, in all parts of life. And, this program really has become a design for living. Not just I come to a meeting and I do and I talk the right way and I say the right things in a meeting and then I go out and live however I want to in the rest of the world. But this really has been a design for living that I've incorporated into my life, in the meetings, out of the meetings, talking with people, driving down the road. And yeah, it doesn't matter if I have religious affiliation, what that religious affiliation is, but all it is I'm willing and honest enough to try the directions that have been given to us. And once I got that willingness, once I got that honesty of, I really haven't been doing a very good job, and became willing to give it 100%, my growing really started in leaps and bounds, and my changing started in leaps and bounds. I could see the growth. I knew other people could. It just took me a while to get there. Thanks.
Thank you, Trish. And yes, Pinky, I co-hosted you. Thank you.
Hi, Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. Thank you for taking the meeting and everybody being of service. This part of the reading, there's the part that I turn the page because I know the asterisk is there. It said we had part, and Trish just hit on it, but we have where it says simple and understandable terms as soon as we are willing and honest enough to try. And on the previous page it gives us the asterisk, which takes us to page 567 or 562. It takes us to spiritual experience, appendix 2, and at the end of that, it says, willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness are the essentials of our recovery, but they are indispensable. And that acronym is WHO. And, without God, without forming that relationship with my higher power, I wasn't able to admit that I was powerless. And I know that does, step 3 is turning my will and my life over to the care of God, as I understand them, and 2 is believing that there is something greater than me. that I needed God at step one, because my ego tried to run everything, and my ego was taking me right into the ground. But this way of life, it is a design for living for me. It's not a program. It's not where I can just log into a meeting for 90 days and I'm going to be okay for the next year, and I can touch on my steps once a year. No, I have to live in the steps daily. I have to be in 10, 11, and 12, and 10 encompasses 4 through 9. And 11, I get to turn it over in the morning, and that's where I admit my powerless, and that's where 1, 2, and 3 come in for me. And when I do that, it's no matter, it doesn't matter what's going on in my life, in the world around me. As long as I take my higher power with me, everything is going to be okay. And, I wasn't one that read the stories in the back of the book. I still haven't read all the stories in the back of the book, because I was always comparing myself to other people. I was looking at the consequences, but I never felt safe. So I had to look at the disease. I had to self-diagnose first. But the most powerful thing for me is that, it says there's clear-cut directions showing how we have recovered. Like, I know I'm not cured. I have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual condition. That means I have to put in the effort. Nobody else can do it for me. And that means turning it over and surrendering continuously. And I could never do that before. My ego wouldn't allow me to do that. But today, I refuse to stay in ego, because it's miserable. It's like skin crawling, miserable. Like, I do everything in my power to get back into God's will, and I'll share this quick little story because I got a minute left. Last week, I went to let the dog outside, and I always go outside with her at night because we have skunks and stray cats around. And I sat down on the steps, and I saw what I thought was a cat, and I was like, I tried to get it away, but it didn't move, and I looked closer, and it was 2 feet away from me. It was a skunk, and I was like, oh my God. And I haven't had an anxiety attack in a really long time, but it was really close. And I got inside very quickly, got the dog inside, and, I just went into prayer, and I just asked God, remove this fear and direct my attention to what you would have me be. And peace just came over me. And, that's what this way of life has done for me, this design for living. I no longer have to be captivated by fear and self-will. I get to live happy, joyous, and free as a result of this way of life. It's not a program. It's not a 90 and 90. It's a design for living. It's a way of life. And I'm thankful that I finally got the willingness and the honesty and open-mindedness to get here today. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Pinky. Love you. Larry, come on in.
Hey, I'm Larry, and I'm an alcoholic. When I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I really wasn't sure about this relationship with God for sure. But, I was willing, because for sure I was willing to try anything that I could to stay sober, and that I was in desperation of a drowning man. And so I did self-diagnose myself to the fact that I was an alcoholic. I was powerless over alcohol, and my life was unmanageable. And I did that in complete honesty and complete willingness. And I think I had so much understanding of religious stuff and baggage in my life that I made this religious thing so hard. I made it so difficult that I began to put roadblocks in my own life and preconceptions about God that was so unnecessary. And it took this program after many years. It took this program to begin to chip those preconceptions and those determined ideals from my life, that I finally became willing to be honest enough about the secrets of my life to really desire that relationship with my Creator, that I was willing to give everything to Him and start a real relationship and be willing to put myself out there and trust that he was there and would answer and give me help when needed. And I didn't have to depend upon my sponsor's God anymore, or just a Santa Claus God like my childhood God anymore. But I could trust on an adult God that truly cared about me, and I could develop a design of living that really worked. And that's the kind of life that I have today through Alcoholics Anonymous. A true belief system that truly works, that identifies with my life and my true life experience, and even with my character flaws, that my higher power and my Creator, who I call, my God, he takes care of the needs that I have each day, so that I might do the work and help others find their way through difficult times, just like I had when I started this thing, and who I still have. And I am so grateful for this program that gave me this design for living. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Larry. Glad you were here. Timmy, I was looking for you going, where'd he go? Where'd he go? And there he was with his hand up all the time. Come on in, brother.
Hey, how's everybody going? I'm Timmy. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. I'd like to go back to page 27 because I never thought in a million years that something would be so transformational. But on page 27 it said, they appear to be in the nature of a huge emotional displacement and rearrangement. Ideas, emotions, attitudes which were once the guiding forces of the lives of these men are suddenly cast to one side, and completely new set of conceptions and motives, that's a big one for me, begin to dominate them. This is repeated again. I can't really remember where, but I know this has been repeated, and when something's been repeated, I pay attention a little bit more because it's probably pretty important. But then we go on page 28, and it says, men and I'm assuming everybody, have discovered God. You know, I grew up in the church, and I thought I knew who that was. We can use words like higher power if that makes others feel comfortable. But, you know, I kind of thought I knew who that higher power was because my mom told me who it was. My aunt did. They had different ones. Uh, you know, all these different people through my 54 years of existence kept telling me different versions. But when I got to AA, you know, I came broken. I was pretty beaten up, um, emotionally and spiritually, and you name it. But I kept coming to the meetings, and I used the meeting and the group as my higher power. I tried church a couple times, even went and dove in that water thinking I was going to come back out cured, you know, and I really meant it, you know. Um, but something just wasn't there. Uh, but my higher power showed up about 3 a.m. during a hernia surgery. And, you know, he's never left me since. Um, now I have those, you know, displacements. They've been rearranged, and it's nothing that I did, you know, um, except for maybe continuing to do what people told me to do, read this book and do the suggestions. And now my prayer life is different. Uh, you know, my whole attitude and outlook upon life has really changed. Um, I know today that I'm a totally different man. I talk to my higher power constantly. He's in the van when I go to work. He's on the tapes when I listen to him. I hear him through many members of this body, um, and it's just different. I like that word motives because I used to be quite a player. Of course, I was a visual liar and a lot of other things. But now my motives today when I wake up is like it's already been said, it's usually based on the needs of others before myself. I worry about my animals. And I like when she mentioned the word skunks because I like critters and I got so many critters it's stupid. But, you know, I worry about my animals having food before I go get my own groceries. You know, that wasn't me before Alcoholics Anonymous. I worry if my better half has, you know, what she needs during the day. I can't always give her what she wants, but I definitely give her what she needs. You know, I make sure that my company has, you know, the sufficient amount of supplies and gas, and you know, again, uh, those are new for me because before it was all about booze. Booze came first before any of that other stuff. But I'm so grateful for my higher power in this program and for the both of them to allow me to come together in three. You know, with all three of those, pretty badass. It's been a good day. I love you guys, and my prayers are definitely with Art and his family tonight. Go to that meeting in the sky, big guy. That's all I got.
Thanks, Timmy. Glad you're here. Welcome, Pickle Chips.
Good evening. I'm Pickle Chips, recovered alcoholic. I didn't understand any of this when I first read it because there's a lot of question marks and things underlined. But I have underlined that a new way of life has been given us, if you prefer, a design for living that really works. That didn't make any sense to me. But someone, when I was early on, said, you know, we're not, we can't get you sober, but we could teach you how to live sober. And that really made a lot of sense to me because I had no idea how to live sober. You know, I started drinking pretty early on, and I had no idea how people out there lived. So I had to be taught. And I did come in agnostic. I did get to choose. I had a higher power of my understanding, but it was not at all affiliated with any kind of religious organization. It was a combination of a lot of things that I got to believe, and we think of no concern what religious bodies people identify with. But I always share this as a do not do. In my first month or so of sobriety, somebody known as Jesus Jim confronted me at my car as I was leaving a meeting and said, if you don't find Jesus, you are not going to get sober. And I was stunned. I was scared. I was angry. And just didn't want to, if I had to do that, I couldn't see myself staying sober. But I was able to reach out to many people that told me to ignore him, and my higher power was enough. And that higher power got me through my first 3 years of sobriety before I actually went into a church and accepted or began a personal relationship with my higher power. And, when I did get baptized, that same man, Jesus Jim, came to my baptism and was telling everybody there that he was responsible. So then I just kind of, anyway, real quick. Further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we recovered. Boy, was that important to this alcoholic. I needed those clear-cut directions. And my sponsor was very good at that. So, followed by 42 personal experiences. This is something I always share too when we're on this part, for those of you who haven't heard it. Is in my third year or so of sobriety, I had some pretty personal challenges, heartbreak, and just all that, just really suffering. And one of the girls in my group, it was not my sponsor, invited me over to her home. She sat me in this big cushy recliner, gave me an ashtray, a thing of water, put my feet up, and she read to me one of the stories from Edition 2. So, and it was exactly what I needed to hear. But she was so familiar with the stories that she was able to find one that would relate to my experience. And I've never been able to do that, but it was so, so very important to me. And I walked out of there a changed woman. I had a new understanding of what other people go through, that I wasn't unique, and that I don't have to drink over my problems. So anyway, that's all I got. I'm sorry I went a little over. Over and out.
And I think Jamie lost connection or something. So Sheila, come on in.
Sheila, alcoholic. Wow. First of all, I just have to say the light that Art brought to this meeting is what brought me back, along with the combination with Trish and Jamie and Donald. But he was, to me, just this shining beacon, still is. I didn't know him very long, just probably the last couple of months, but he was like just this beacon, this lighthouse, that I was drawn to. So, and I feel his presence right now in this meeting, very strongly. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So talk about packing a wallop in just 3 pages, right? Every time I read something in this book, new things jump out on me, especially the way we break this book down now. Thank you so much for this meeting. So it explained to me, I didn't understand why the God of our understanding was in italics when I first came in, and just step 3 and 11. And it does explain right here that the reason it's in italics is that, it means all of us, whatever our race, creed, or color, are the children of a living creator whom we may form a relationship upon simple and understandable terms as soon as we are willing and honest enough to try. Well, willing and honest enough comes from 1 and 2, and building my higher power began in 2, but that italicized God of our understanding was what hit me and brought me back to the rooms when I first came in. That beautiful light, and then it's so it was neat that explained why I think that was set aside and in italics, because it's the universal, whatever you want to call it, God, Allah, Muhammad, whatever, it doesn't matter. I personally, I had no pre-existing images of God when I came in. I was raised by an atheist mother, and but I always fought against it, even as a tiny child. I saw other people praying to this beautiful being I couldn't see, and I started doing it as a toddler. And I feel very blessed to be a blank slate, because it didn't take me long to build my higher power in my second step with my sponsor. What did I want and what didn't I want my God to be? God, and I choose to call my higher power God. It's just the way it started, and I'll continue to do this. Use that term, because I love God. To me, means everything and everyone and everywhere and everything, and love. So I individualize my concepts, and over the last 9 years, I build every day. I love the way he starts, talks about new life designed for living, and I began to read some of the literature that this book was built on, especially we agnostics. One of the people is Richard Rohr, and he's the one that came up with the twice born concept. That we have a chance to be born again, and that's at the end of the 11-step prayer also. We must die, our old selves, must die in order for us to be reborn in the image that God intended for us. And for me to really understand this, that I needed this map of this divine book and steps and concepts and traditions to begin to live a new life and make 100% total commitment to following the blueprint that was laid out in front of me. And I'm able to try that, to do that every day, that every day gives me a daily reprieve. So, I feel very blessed. And there's another book called The Varieties of Religious Experience, which is mentioned, and that's really amazing. William James, I just want to read the first couple of sentences. I think I have a minute left. 23 seconds. The great central fact of the universe is that spirit of infinite life and power that is back of all and that manifests itself in and through all. This spirit of infinite life and power that is back of all is what I call God. I care not what term you may use, be it kindly light, providence, the oversoul, omnipotence, or whatever term may be most convenient, so long as we are agreed in regard to the great central fact itself. And it goes on. And anyway, I highly recommend reading some of the materials that are the foundation of this amazing program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Jamie, you jumping back in? You're muted.
Yeah, I am. Sorry, folks, I got booted. William, come on in, and we got time for another hand, folks, and before we close out as well.
My name is William Alcoholic, and it's never seemed to amaze me how well they put this book together back in 1939 when they wrote this book. And I remember it's a piece in the big book said, though you may be one person with this book in your hand, you could stay sober. And that's what those 42 stories were in the back of the big book, to read by identification. But right behind that, they said, find another alcoholic. So definitely I identified that. And in the end of this chapter that we read today, it says that I came to, and I must have that thing too, And that's what happened to me, I didn't know what alcohol was until I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I studied it, it was me, And I looked at other people who I thought in my mind was alcoholic, but I never thought it was me. But by me making meetings and hearing other people share their experience, strength, and hope, I said, okay, I understand it. And it was the obsession, whenever I picked up that first drink, I started thinking and wondering where the next one was going to come from. So I began to identify that by that type of behavior. And another thing that happened was William James, he was talking about the variety and stuff like that. When I got early sober, they had this one guy. He's dead now, and he died at about 51 years of sobriety. And he used to say it all the time. He would say, I call his name now because he dead. He would say, my name is John, and I'm agnostic. And boy, I would cringe in my seat because of in my skin, because I came up Southern Baptist, and that God that I had from there, wouldn't allow me to. It sort of had me a lot of fear going on inside of me when he said that, and I had some kind of a mental, when he said that, towards him when he said that. But one thing, after 15 years of hearing him say that, I began to watch what he did. He said he was agnostic, but he went into a lot of rehab. He had a lot of people who he helped to get sober by put them through the steps and stuff. So I began to see the good thing he was done. Well, I don't know how God looked at him, but I seen the work that he did here on earth. So a lot of people sober. Matter of fact, one of the guys who celebrated 50 years this next Tuesday was one of his sponsors, and I got a chance to meet a lot of them. So I began to see things different, and it sort of turned a switch on in my head and just seeing the work that he was doing while he was here. And the other thing that I struggled with when I first came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and that was somebody would say just a little word, And whenever I begin to look at myself and what I realize today, that it's a lot of trauma that done to us as individuals. But that trauma is like fingerprints. We are different in our recovery process because of that. And I used to hear people say, I'm did this and I'm here and I'm there like that and stuff like that. So I felt like I had to be graded too in that sort of fashion and stuff. But one person said something like this: "It's not a race; it's a journey." So that sort of clicked something else inside of me, So I'm grateful for the things that I heard that helped me here. You know what I mean? It's every time I get a chance to reflect now. that process of that connection with God, from a higher power to whatever it was until I got to today. And today I don't put no pronoun in front of God. I say God. And that's just for me. You do whatever you have to do. You know what I mean? And I'm just so grateful. And I learned that God was in my life, before I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, because of the fellowship and because of the program. And like I think I was on a mission impossible. I don't know if you remember that old series of Mission Impossible, and the tape destroyed itself, and that's what I was doing, destroying myself. I come in here and develop a relationship with God, and today I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. And most of the time, my prayer is just gratitude. Thank you, God, when I wake up and I make that contact with God. So I'm glad to be here, and my prayers definitely be with Arthur and his family. His spiritual will be here with us, but he definitely be missing, because he always has some further wisdom that he had to share with us through his years of being here in this fellowship.
Thank you, William. Lisa.
Hey everyone, I'm Lisa. I'm an alcoholic. Stuck out for me tonight was, first of all, I want to say to anybody new or struggling, I never got God. I didn't understand it. I stayed away from meetings, big book meetings, big book studies. I just went to open meetings. It scared me. I didn't understand it, so I stayed away from it. And reading this, the central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that my Creator has entered into my heart and life in a way which is indeed miraculous. He has commenced to accomplish those things for me, which I could never do by myself. And I mean, I know this. I have 30 plus years of experience. I fought everything and everybody, every experience. I lived in a panic state. Because of that, I was pretty angry. These past almost couple years, it's just, I'm really starting to see the change in myself and my perspective and the way I think. A year ago, I had a challenge brought to me. And, for the first minute, my head went back to that panic and anger. And for that minute, I thought of a drink. And a minute later, I picked up the phone. And I started my pathway and asked God for a pathway to resolve this. And I did stop that. And this whole past year, very easily, if I didn't have God, if I didn't bring God into my life every day, I would have been fighting it. I would have been angry, the why me's, pissed off at the world, like I always was. But I have been pretty peaceful this past year. Doing things, doing the next right thing to help the situation. And that's just unbelievable to me. The way I lived. Like I said, I thought everything, including myself. All those resentful feelings, the anger, and what's different, I went to meetings. I went to open meetings. They didn't help me. What's different this time is this book and having a higher power and bringing God into my days and asking him to guide me. And he has. And you know, I was thinking today after talking with somebody, you know, and that, my perspective is, like what came to my mind was maybe God was protecting me from something this year. And that's why he guided me a little off the path I thought I was supposed to go on. But maybe it was protection. You know? I get thoughts today where I know it's God. Because it's like, ooh, you know, and I look up and say thank you. And it's pretty cool. And you know, I really am so grateful I found this way of life, and I found you guys in this meeting, and you know it was all God now, the way it all happened, and yeah, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Hi, family. My name is Jamie. Very grateful, recovered alcoholic. Good to be with all of you tonight, and glad all of you are here. I love how the first line of tonight's reading starts off. We, in our turn, sought the same escape with all the desperation of drowning men. Now, some of you that I work with have heard this more than once. There's two things I can never give any other alcoholic. It is the gift of the desperation of a drowning man or the gift of willingness. Those things have to come from within. But because of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and the action that has been taken through the steps, I have a personal experience with this work and a personal experience with the God of my experience. I still don't understand God any more than I did when I got here. But I know that I have the God of my experience today that's brought me through more guilt, more shame, more grief, more pain, more suicidal and homicidal thoughts, and I never had to take action on any of that stuff. And it's because when I got here, I had willingness and the desperation of a drowning man. So if someone has that, I can give of my time, I can give of my experience. But you know, I never tell anyone in Alcoholics Anonymous what they do, and I think oftentimes sponsorship is very misguided because for some reason or another we put ourselves on pedestals and we start wearing carving notches in our gun belt with our babies, and we start thinking we get to tell people what to do and how to live. It's not my place to do that. It's just my place to hold the torch and light the pathway and share the experience and take them on the journey and take them from being sponsor dependent to being God dependent. To take, you know, we come into Alcoholics Anonymous, at first we become group dependent. Then we become sponsor dependent. But my goal is to lead people to being God dependent. That's the whole goal here. That's the end game. Because when it comes down to it, in 10, 11, and 12, it's about our personal relationship with God. Now, I talked about religion and different pathways and stuff tonight, and I absolutely enjoy that. And we do not have a monopoly on God in Alcoholics Anonymous. But here's what we do have. We have a pathway that is successful 100% of the time for 100% of the people that will follow that pathway. Doesn't mean we won't struggle, doesn't mean we won't have resistance, doesn't mean we won't balk at it. But it will be successful every time if I follow the guidelines that are given to me. Where do I find those guidelines? I find them in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I learn much from our other literature. I learn a lot from the 12 and 12, but the directions aren't there. AA Comes of Age, as Bill sees it, Dr. Bob, the Good Old Timers, Language of the Heart, all of those have great information. But there is not one of those pieces of literature that contains the directions, only in the Big Book. So we hear a lot today that because politics and social ideas have infiltrated Alcoholics Anonymous, we hear so much about AA's not inclusive enough anymore. We're just as inclusive as we've always been. We have been inclusive from the beginning. And it tells us in the foreword to the second edition, that among us in our fellowship and in our program, there's Catholics, Jews, Muslims, a sprinkling of Hindus and Asians and so on. That is inclusivity. That is everlasting proof that your God doesn't have to look like mine. And then tonight, I love this line right here. If what we have learned and felt and seen means anything at all, it means that all of us, whatever our race, creed, or color, are the children of a loving Creator with whom from a relationship upon simple and understandable terms as soon as we are willing to be honest enough to try. Folks, we come into this world and we're born with all kinds of prejudice and bias in our lives. It comes from family, or from our parents, our grandparents, our neighborhoods, and all that sort of thing. And I love you regardless of our differences. Why do I love you? Because you're an alcoholic. We have the common bond of alcoholism. We also have the common bond of recovery in our lives. So it doesn't matter to me what the color of your skin or your religion or your sexuality or anything else is. I see each and every one of you as a child of God. Now you might not be on board with God yet, and that's okay. But I am. And my God's big enough for all of us. Touch on the personal stories real quick. When the personal stories, I love them. And the thing about the personal stories is they are like a speaker meeting in print. The personal stories were, night Pinky, the personal stories were written like before we actually had speaker meetings. We call our Grapevine magazine a meeting in print. Personal stories were there long before the Grapevine was. And I love the way that it describes it, that each of the individuals in their own way, in their own words, in their own language, describes how they developed their relationship with this power. That's a pretty powerful thing. Here's what I know. I'll say something that was very profound that Art told me. And as you know, he just celebrated his 47th year. He was sober in AA for a little while, because of the nudge from the judge and all that kind of thing. And he was sober about 3 months. And he had a birthday weekend, and he drank over that birthday weekend. And he felt really bad about it, but he came home and he asked himself a simple question. What did I miss? And if you're someone who struggles with not picking up the first drink, maybe try this. He came home and he randomly opened the book. And it opened to page 85, and he came to the passage that we are never cured of alcoholism. Really what we have is a daily reprieve upon the maintenance of a spiritual condition. And he realized that in that 3 or 4 months that he had been sober, he hadn't done anything to develop a relationship and maintain a spiritual condition. So he thought he probably needed to get into the program of action and take the steps to find out if what we talk about is true. And as a result of that, he got to spend 47 years sober. As a result of that, he was around when I came into the rooms and got to be my loving guide for 35 years. To many of you in this room, that has been passed on through the generational sponsorship. That's important. And I believe all of us have the same responsibility to pass that on as well. Touch on this and then I'll shut up. It talks about the next chapter, still all about step 1, more about alcoholism, but the chapter more about alcoholism is only about 2 things. It is all about the mental obsession and untreated alcohol. That's the only 2 things that chapter is about. So maybe as we go through that chapter, starting next week, be willing to recognize the mental obsession. Become willing to recognize the untreated alcoholism. And maybe all of ourselves should ask, even though we're sober, do I still struggle with some of these mental obsessions in my life? Because I think that they're very much rooted in my defects of character. And then it'll take us into the chapter to the agnostic, which I absolutely believe is the greatest piece of literature that exists on the planet. Because it becomes a pathway for me to let go of old ideas and old beliefs and open my heart and mind to new ideas and new beliefs. And it took 24 and a half years for that to take root in me. And it didn't have to. It did by my own choice. Because I wasn't willing to look at anything other than my own prejudice and bias against things spiritual. But what it has led me to is a profound change in my thoughts, feelings, and actions. And you know what? I got to share this with you guys. I'm sorry I'm running over, but I got to share this with you. This morning I'm talking to a friend in WhatsApp, and we're doing face-to-face. And she's someone who struggles. Claims to be an atheist, don't really think she is, think she's probably more agnostic, but really struggles with it. And I shared with her a passage of the Bible that I had been listening to a little earlier. And amazingly enough, she says, well, I got a Bible right over here. And she went over and picked it up, and we read those passages together. Now, even though she doesn't believe, she is still opening her heart and her mind to become teachable about God. God is using me in that individual's life to do that. I'm not responsible for it. I'm just responsible to take my part. I don't get to claim anything out of it. But it sure is a joy to help someone's eyes open. And in the process of all of this, I got a truck breaking down. I get a message about Art's passing. And I got to take a couple of minutes to do those things. And she and I go back to going face to face. And I told her, yeah, I got to do this with the truck. And Art just passed. And we went right back to doing what we were doing. And she said, I don't understand this. You have all of this stuff going on, and yet you're spending time with me. I am not worthy of this. And I said, but you are worthy of it. And it doesn't matter that you have all of this stuff going on, because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is the way that my God leads my heart. You are absolutely worth it. And all you have to do to receive is to receive it. It's a beautiful moment. It's been an exhausting day, but I am so grateful for each and every one of you. I am so grateful, and I am so blessed for what each and every one of you contributes to my life. You know, I got to spend the weekend with 189 other alcoholics, and you could feel the spirit and presence of God the whole time. And that's what this book is about. To help us find that power which will solve our problem. Thank you. Sorry for going over, folks.
From our book on page 164. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults freely to him and your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Amen. For those of you who are new to us and just joining us, we've got, even though you may have a dark screen, we've got a real special way of closing out around here, folks. I'm going to go in this direction tonight. When I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was told if you're struggling with God and you want to see God, look into the faces of the people as we circle up and pray. So we can't circle up together like we would in a meeting, but we hold our hands up in the screen and we virtually circle up. And if you're struggling with God, look into the faces of all of us as we pray. And I promise you, if it's true that we're created in God's own image, you will see God. So after a moment of silence for those who are sick and suffering, who are going to die of this disease tonight, please join me in the Lord's Prayer. Here's your moment. Thank you. Who will take us from shame to grace if we let him? Our Father,
Our Father,
who art in
heaven,
hallowed be thy
hallowed be
name.
thy name.
Thy kingdom come. Thy will be
Thy
done
will be done
on earth
on
as
earth as it is in heaven.
Give us
Give us
this
this
day
day our daily bread,
and
and
forgive us
forgive
our
us our
trespasses.
trespasses,
We forgive
as we
those who
forgive those who
trespass
trespass
against
against
us.
us.
And lead
And
us
lead us
not
not
into
into
temptation,
temptation,
but
but
deliver us
deliver us
from
from
evil.
evil.
And
For
the
thine is the
kingdom,
kingdom, the power,
the
the
glory,
glory, forever
and ever and ever.
Coming back to you works, but
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Stay
Good
in
night, everybody.